Calm down and let the money come to you. Have you ever noticed how the more you chase money, the further away it seems to get? It's strange, almost irritating, but true. Most people have been taught that prosperity comes from struggle, pressure, and exhaustion. But there's a paradox here. The more anxiety you put into the process, the more you block the result. It seems unfair, I know, but maybe that's exactly what no one has explained to you until now. Perhaps the problem was never a lack of effort. Perhaps you've already done too much. You worked, you tried, you persisted, you prayed, you planned, and yet you feel that something always holds you back. What if I told you that money doesn't respond to how much you want it, nor to how much you suffer, but to internal state? What do you live for every day? Not what you say, but what you feel in silence. Here's the statement that scares a lot of people. It's not effort that attracts prosperity. It's alignment. As long as you're at war internally, trying to force results, you'll keep pushing life against the current. But when you learn to calm down, to change your internal frequency and act from confidence, something changes. Quickly. And in a way that seems almost improbable. This video isn't about sitting idly by or waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. It's about understanding why some people thrive with ease while others wear themselves out without making any progress. And more importantly, how you can change that, starting now, from the inside out. The paradox of anxious effort. When you force it, you push it away. Have you ever noticed that the more you chase after money, it looks more like it turns into smoke? Yeah, that's the thing. The universe, and your own mind, tends to respond more to your inner state rather than your despair. When you search prosperity with a racing heart, the message behind the request becomes, I don't have it. And guess what? Your life becomes a mirror of that. Scarcity, even if you're doing everything right. Now look how interesting. It's neither laziness nor lack of discipline. That's the way you are vibrating inside. When you try to manifest abundance by force, your subconscious, you interpret scarcity as truth and start filtering the world to confirm it. You begin to see only bills, only risks, only delays, and you miss the small opportunities that could lead to significant income. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack with the lights off and then complaining that nobody helps you, you know? So the first adjustment is simple and powerful. Before acting, you need to align yourself. Take a deep breath, pause for 30 seconds and ask yourself, what am I emitting right now? Faith or fear? And then you take a micro-action with presence. Organize a list of expenses, cut off a money leak, send a proposal to a client, study a topic about extra income for 10 minutes, or open A-flat Real Prosperity. The secret is action with peace. From the inside, don't panic. Because in the next step, you'll understand how to create this state of receiving without pretending that everything is okay. The state of being that attracts. Why money responds to your identity. There is a somewhat uncomfortable yet liberating truth. The money. He doesn't react to what you say you want. He responds to who you're being when nobody's looking. Sounds harsh. Yes, I know. But it makes sense. If deep down you see yourself as someone who's always almost there, the world will confirm that almost prosperity. It begins when you change your internal identity, not just your external goal. Think of it this way. Two people do the same thing with the same effort. One succeeds, the other stagnates. The difference isn't luck, it's emotional state. Who acts from the faith moves with clarity, makes better choices, perceives signs, and seizes simple opportunities. Those who act based on scarcity. He enters into bad deals, sabotages himself, procrastinates, or accepts less than he's worth. The subconscious. He doesn't negotiate. He executes what you believe to be true. So in practice, it starts small and real. If you want abundance, treat your current money with respect. Keep track of expenses. Avoid saying, "I'm terrible with finances." Pay bills consciously, not angrily. Read 10 pages a day of something that expands your financial mind. Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic, but it's also worth studying extra income, simple investments, or marketable skills. Identity changes with consistent habits. And in the next topic, you'll see how silence and calm accelerate this process more than doubled effort. The silence that accelerates results. When less noise creates more money. Here's a twist that few people realize. The more noise you make inside, worry, comparison, anxiety, the slower everything becomes on the outside. Funny thing, right? Inner silence isn't the absence of action, it's clarity. When you quiet your mind, you begin to hear ideas that were previously stifled by fear. It is in this space that simple, yet profitable insights emerge. Think about how many bad financial decisions stem from haste, impulse buying, accepting bad offers, getting involved in projects just because everyone else is getting involved. A restless mind confuses movement with progress. A mind at peace, however, is not. Peace chooses better where to put your energy, time, and money, and that changes everything, because the prosperity. It's not about doing more, it's about doing better. Here's a practical exercise that really works. Before making any important financial decision, pause for 2 minutes. Take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and ask yourself, does this come from faith or the fear of falling behind? After this pause, take action. It could be investing in learning a new skill, reorganizing debts, negotiating a better service, or simply saying no to something that doesn't make sense right now. This small ritual creates a new internal pattern and prepares the ground for the next step, where you will understand how to align thought, emotion, and action without falling into illusion. Thought, emotion, and action. The invisible trio that creates your reality. Here, many people slip up without realizing it. Thinking positively without aligning your emotions is just wishful thinking. Acting without aligning your thinking becomes a wasted effort. What truly creates results is when thought, emotion, and action, they walk together at the same pace. When that happens, life begins to respond in an almost frightening way. Doors open without being pushed. Look at the pattern. You think, "I want to prosper," but you feel afraid of losing, ashamed of earning more, or guilty for wanting it. Abundance. The action does happen, but it's flawed from the start. Subconscious, it captures the dominant emotion and says, "Okay, I'll keep everything as it is." That's why so many people study, work, try, and don't get anywhere. It's not a lack of ability. It's an internal misalignment. A simple adjustment changes the game. Before acting, align your feelings. If you're going to work, work with presence. If you're going to study, study believing that it will generate a return. If you're going to sell something, sell with conviction of its value, without making excuses. Mentally repeat something like, "I do my part calmly," and "Prosperity, find your way to me." This alignment creates internal traction. And in the next topic, you'll understand why living as someone who has already received isn't pretending. It's an advanced mental strategy. Living as if already received. Identity before the result. Here's the game changer. You don't wait for the result to change the state. You change the state to allow the result. Sounds weird, but it works. Living like someone who has already received it isn't about pretending to be rich or spending what you don't have. It's assume internally. The identity of those who trust the process. When you change who you are on the inside, the world begins to reorganize itself on the outside. In practice, this shows up in small choices. You talk about money without fear, organize your routine, respect your time, And keep your commitments to yourself. You don't treat yourself like someone broken waiting for a miracle, but like someone consciously under construction. Subconscious. Love consistency. When your actions match your identity. Prosperity. He creates shortcuts, ideas, and encounters that confirm this. Try something simple today. Take care of what you already have as if it were a seed of your life. Abundance: one salary, one client, one talent, one contact. Act accordingly, faith. Not with anxiety. And you'll notice how this attitude changes your decisions throughout the day. Because in the next step you'll see that this change doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with silent choices that almost no one values. And that's when everything starts to accelerate. Small, silent decisions. Where change truly begins. Here's a truth that almost no one likes to hear. Your life doesn't change through grand speeches. It changes through the small decisions you make when no one is watching. Yeah, those invisible choices, really. The way you start your morning, the thought you accept before going to sleep, how you react to an unexpected financial event. That's where prosperity. It either starts or freezes. The money, it responds to consistency, not momentary enthusiasm. When you decide every day to think better, spend better, speak better, and act more wisely, faith, something changes inside, the subconscious. It learns a new pattern and begins to work in your favor. It starts filtering opportunities, ideas, and paths that you previously simply ignored because you were too busy surviving. Try this simple test. Choose one decision a day to make consciously. It could be not complaining, writing down an expense, studying for 10 minutes, being grateful for what you've received, or saying no to something that drains your energy. These small choices create a powerful cumulative effect. And when you realize this, you understand that you don't need to change everything at once. You just need to stay the course. In the next section, you'll see how this silent consistency builds a new future almost effortlessly. Quiet constancy. Why those who go far make almost no noise. There is a curious pattern among people who build prosperity solid. They don't live in emotional highs and lows. No exaggerated euphoria or constant despair. They follow a calm rhythm, almost boring for those who live in a state of urgency. Here's the deal: consistency triumphs over intensity. Money trusts those who don't get lost every week changing direction. When you maintain small daily practices, thinking better, acting better, feeling better, subconscious, he understands that this is serious. He begins to maintain this new pattern without constantly requiring willpower. It's like training a muscle. It hurts at first, then it becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, growth accelerates without you even noticing. Perhaps you've already tried to change everything at once and failed. That's normal. The path now is different. Less promises, more presence. Less, "I'll start on Monday." More, "I'll do a little better today." This attitude creates inner stability, and stability is a silent magnet for abundance. And in the next topic, you will understand why trusting in the right timing is not passivity. It is spiritual intelligence applied to real life. Trusting in the right timing, conscious surrender, not passivity. Many people here get things confused. Trusting in the right timing doesn't mean sitting idly by, waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. Not at all. It's about doing your part with presence and then letting go of the control over the outcome. When you try to control everything, your mind goes into tension. And tension blocks perception, creativity, and even good decision-making. Money. Conscious surrender happens when you act with faith and accept that not everything depends on you. You plant, water, care for, but you don't spend all your time digging in the soil to see if the seed has sprouted. This behavior communicates trust to the subconscious, and he responds by creating smarter, not more painful, paths. A prosperity. It flows better when you cooperate with the process, not when you fight against it. Try this in practice. Do what is within your reach today and end the day in peace. Study, work, organize, decide, and then deliver. Say internally, I did my best today. Hey, this simple attitude changes your vibration during sleep, and it is there that many things are reorganized. And in the next topic, you will realize how this inner peace begins to reflect, almost effortlessly, in your external reality. The inevitable reflection. When the world begins to respond to who you've become. There comes a point, and it always does, when the external begins to follow the internal. It's not magic, it's a consequence. When you sustain a state of eighth calm and prosperity, given enough time, the world simply responds. Funny how that works. People appear, ideas emerge, opportunities that previously went unnoticed begin to make sense. Nothing fell from the sky. You were just ready to see it. The money. Things start to circulate better because your choices have changed. You negotiate more firmly, manage more consciously, and accept fewer emotional and financial crumbs. Subconscious. Now that it's trained, it starts operating like a radar. It pulls up situations that match the identity you've built. And this happens so naturally that it seems like luck to an outside observer. Perhaps the most important thing to understand here is that the process doesn't end when the result appears. It only confirms that the path is working. The true victory is maintaining who you've become, even when things improve. Because that's what sustains you. Abundance, in the long term. And it prepares you for the conclusion of this lesson, where everything connects in a practical and applicable way. The complete cycle. Maintaining the right state, even when everything changes. Here's the point that separates those who merely improve from those who truly transform. When the money it starts to flow, when the prosperity it turns out the biggest risk isn't losing, it's relaxing too much internally. Many people change their internal state only until life gets better, and then revert to their old patterns. And guess what? The cycle begins again. True mastery lies in maintaining the faith, calmness, and awareness, even in good times. Continue making good choices, thinking better, and feeling genuine gratitude. Subconscious. It learns through repetition, not through isolated events. When you maintain the right state, it understands, this is who I am now. And the abundance. It stops being a phase and becomes the norm. This is where everything comes together. Effort without anxiety, action with presence, trust in the process, and silent consistency. This cycle doesn't depend on luck or external circumstances. It depends on who you decide to be every day. And from here, everything that follows isn't an accident. It's a natural consequence. Now, the question that really matters isn't how much you understood, but what you're going to do with all of this. Do you realize how, from today onwards, it no longer makes sense to continue acting on autopilot, out of fear or haste? If money responds to your inner state, therefore every daily choice takes on enormous weight. How you wake up, how you react, how you think, how you feel, all of this is communicating something all the time. So let me challenge you honestly. What frequency have you been maintaining in the last few days? Anxiety or confidence? Scarcity or faith? Have you been living like someone who waits to be saved by circumstances? Or like someone who has already understood that change begins from within? Because life doesn't respond to your future promises, it responds to your present state. Starting today, try something simple. Before acting, align yourself. Before deciding, breathe. Before complaining, observe. And then act with presence, even if it's a small step. This combination, inner calm and conscious action on the outside, changes destinies. Not noisily, but consistently. And consistency creates prosperity sustainable. Now tell me, what will you choose to sustain from today onward? What thought needs to die for a new state to be born? Write this down for yourself, or even here in the comments. Because when you verbalize a decision, you begin to seal a new cycle. If this content helped you see something you hadn't seen before, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you can continue learning, adjusting, and growing consciously. This is just the beginning of a new way to live, think, and thrive.